diving into something I find pretty darn cool, circular supply chains.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
have you ever heard about this?
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be big.
Yeah. No, it's huge and only getting bigger, it seems
So
like.
we're lucky enough that one of our listeners sent in an excerpt, right, from the Supply Chain Savvy podcast
Okay.
by Masood Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And the episode is literally called The Circular Supply Chain, Sustainability and Profitability.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into that because I think a lot of us, like, intuitively, we get the old way, right?
Oh, right.
The take it, make it, chuck it in the trash.
Yeah, the linear economy, yeah.
And that's showing its cracks, right?
Got
Like,
it.
we're running out of places to even put the trash, let alone the resources to keep making new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you see it everywhere. Landfills overflowing, resources getting more and more scarce.
Exactly.
It's definitely not a sustainable model in the long run.
So how does this circular thing, like on a basic level, how is it different?
Well, it's really about, like you were saying, moving away from that straight line, that linear model, and instead kind of like envisioning a circle, right? Where we're not just disposing of products after use, but we're thinking about how those products, those materials can be reused, repaired, maybe even remanufactured into something new.
Okay, so it's not just like, oh, I'm going to recycle this bottle and it magically comes back as a bottle.
Right, it's bigger than that.
It's the whole, like, how was this designed in the first place?
Exactly. And that's where it gets really interesting, I think, because it's not just about being eco-conscious, although that's a big part of it.
Right.
But what Masood Khan really brings out in this podcast episode is that circularity can actually be very profitable.
Ooh. See, now you're talking my language, right? So less hippy-dippy, more like hard-nosed business. Is that?
Okay, all right.
It makes sense, right?
So he's making the case for sustainability, A&E profitability, which honestly, more people need to hear because sometimes those things feel at odds, you know?
For sure, yeah.
So how does he break that down? Like, what are the actual benefits, like bullet points of doing this whole circular thing?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that he hits on is how we view waste.
Okay.
So instead of seeing it as just garbage, right, in a circular economy, waste becomes a resource.
Okay, so it's like my grandma always said, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Exactly. And companies are finding some really ingenious ways to put this into practice.
Okay, give me an example. What are they doing with, like, old coffee grounds?
You wouldn't believe it, turning them into biofuels. Or how about discarded fishing nets? Those are being transformed into skateboards.
Whoa. That is so cool. Okay, so there are actual tangible things that are happening right now. This isn't just some, like, future fantasy land.
Oh, no, it's happening now. And another big advantage is what Khan calls a closed-loop design.
Closed-loop design. Okay. I'm going to be honest, that sounds a little intimidating.
It's really not. Think of it like, imagine products that are designed from the get-go to be taken apart, and then those parts can be reused.
Oh, so like Legos. You build a castle, then break it down, and those same bricks become a spaceship.
Exactly. It's about modularity. And we're already seeing this, by the way. You've got modular phones now where you can easily swap out parts.
Oh, right.
It just makes repairs so much easier.
And I bet that plays into the whole, like, cost-saving aspect,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. This is where it gets really exciting for businesses. They're not so reliant on new raw materials, which are often really expensive.
Makes sense.
And then you've got the added bonus of possibly making money from the recycled materials.
Okay, so that is a win-win. So after going through all this with you, I got to ask, is this really the future of how we do business or just like a nice idea? What do you think?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Masood Khan definitely seems to think it has huge potential. And based on what we're seeing, it's hard to disagree. I mean, the environmental benefits alone are hard to ignore. And when you combine that with the economic advantages, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, for sure.
It really is. And I think for all of you listening, the next time you go to, like, toss something in the trash, maybe think twice.
Yeah.
Like, what could this become? Get creative. All right, that is it for this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.